So we went to Macna several weeks back, and one of the things that I got from there that sort of blew my mind the most, it came from several different people, but it was, so when they make glass, there's like a bed of molten tin, and
When they make plate glass.
Plate glass.
There's a couple ways to do it, but we're talking about sheets of glass, and this is called float glass. It's a specific way to do it.
So there's a molten bed of tin, and you pour molten glass onto that, and then that glass coalesces, and it's smooth on the tin side, and it's like a conveyor. It keeps moving, and then it cools enough to where they can break it and pull it off of the tin.
The real exciting thing about float glass is both sides of the glass are really, 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 really flat. So the cooling is a thing that happens with all glass processes, but float glass allows you to get both sides super flat. That's what's really cool about it. So the bottom floats on the tin and it stays warm, which is nice. And then the whole top of it just goes level by itself, right? And it doesn't stick to the tin, and it moves along on a conveyor. It gets pulled along, and then as it gets cooled, it gets scored and cut up and then annealed.
And so then there were several people talking about, especially the thicker pieces of glass where it might sit on the tin longer, it does absorb a little bit of the tin on that side. Now I do know that, so there's that profession called glazers, the people that do glass in buildings, and it's something about like their 3M or whoever they use, their tint and all that. You have to know what side is the tin side and what side isn't. And now I can't remember for a glazer, like what, do you need to, like, does the film not stick well on the tin side or whatever it is, but they need to know it. So all this sounded super anecdotal and weird to me. So a buddy of mine, who I'm not going to put their name on here because I didn't get their permission to, but he contacted Jerry Acuf from Planet Aquariums and was asking him the same question. And Jerry sent this long reply to it, and I asked his permission. Hey, can I talk about this publicly in your name? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And so he said, yes, it is a consideration. Now, he wasn't making a comment to what happens if a company accidentally puts the tin side in on an aquarium. That's not his forte. But his forte is, the packages come in and it's just known, like either the tin side is up or the tin side is down, and they have some sort of UV light that shows them what's the tin side. So when they put together an aquarium, they are trying to have the tin side out and not in, and now I'm getting back into anecdote. It seems like I've had tanks that get a mysterious haziness, and I'm not talking about, mineral deposits. I'm talking about a weird patchy haziness on the inside of the glass of like a single sheet or a couple sheets. And it's not anything I've been able to explain. And I'm not saying that is the cause in this case, but it is. And then, so I put that, on the Facebook, and we were all sort of dissecting it. And, and then some people were saying anecdotally, there's been like mysterious levels when they're doing ICP analysis, where some people have high levels of tin and then it comes down, and some people were wondering if it could possibly come off of that. But it's just interesting to note that, a lot of this glass that we use for aquariums is float glass, and that, it should be known that, your aquarium hopefully does not have the tin side in, and it could be an explanation to some haziness that you find. Now, am I presenting this as anything ironclad and concrete? I'm not. This is just anecdotal, but it's something to talk about and think about.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to know. The tin side can be problematic because how you etch the glass with hydrofluoric acid. And for window cleaners, if you use an acid on the tin side to remove staining, like hard water stains, you can etch the glass because of the tin, right? And on the other side, you won't etch it because there's no tin there. And it's not that much tin, and you can't really see it unless you look at it with, there's a couple of different methods, right? UV light, or there's a scanner that'll do it, or there's the water droplet. A water droplet will behave differently on the tin side or not. And aquarium manufacturers are supposed to put the tin side outside so you don't have a problem with your tank.
It does make you it does make you wonder. Sometimes mistakes could happen, and it makes you wonder sometimes if it was accidentally flip-flopped a certain way. I mean, if that's the case, I would hope that anyone making a custom aquarium for me, takes that into account and doesn't make a mistake in that way.
I'm putting a note to try to ask Felix from Reef Savvy how they approach that.
Yeah.
It is so not hard to check for which side is the tin side. But if I were getting, knowing that it is a thing, if I were getting a custom tank made, I would definitely ask about it, because it's one more question. And, how do they make sure that doesn't happen? Because, and somebody in our discussion about it said, they had a client and it hazed, and they didn't want to tear it down because it would be too much of a pain in the ass. So it's really something you don't want to have happen. It's very rare. It's very rare. And it's also very rare that it causes a problem, right? It could happen a lot, but not be problematic.
My tank, one of my tanks here at my house, my frag system, it's a Innovative Marine SR 125. It's like a 125 gallon sort of low boy, but it has some weird patchy haziness on the right side. And again, it's not like a mineral thing, I can tell. And it's just, I don't know how they do it. It seems like someone would get the packages of glass in and run that machine and like take a magic marker and draw an X on the tin side or whatever. Mistakes
happen all the time. I mean, I even heard a story of a guy who's been reefing for like 20 years. And he just by accident put double the amount of GFO in a reactor without thinking about it. Yeah. So shit happens,
I can't, I'm not tossing stones over here.
It was a really cool conversation, because glass and reefing intersecting is always interesting to me. Not that I work in float glass or anything like that, but I was answering your questions about the annealing process and where the tin actually goes on, which is when it's hot being floated. Once it's off the tin's already there. The tin's not going away from any other or being added from any other process.
Well, it's sort of fun because when I posted it, and it wasn't my thing. It was someone at Magna brought this up. So, I mean, don't attribute this to me, but it's fun because a lot of people I really respect went on that talk and they're like, dude, I don't see anything anymore that like throws me for a loop. And this has totally thrown me for a loop. I never thought about this and didn't know about this. So
yeah. The ICP guys getting involved and going, sometimes we see tin early in the life of a tank and then it goes away. That's a pretty interesting observation. I was going to say, if only there was like a central database for the hobby and we could all keep track of shit like this and all get better faster instead of, siloing and taking short steps forward.
Yeah, exactly.